and welcome to our 28th meeting of the House of Commons Standing Committee on Transport, Infrastructure, and Communities. Today's meeting is taking place in a hybrid format pursuant to the House Order of January 25th, 2021. The proceedings will be made available via the House of Commons website, so you are aware the webcast will always show the person speaking rather than the entirety of the committee. To ensure an orderly meeting, I would like to outline a few points to follow. First off, members and witnesses may speak in the official language of their choice. Interpretation services are available for this meeting. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either floor, English, or French. For members participating in person, proceed as you usually would when the whole committee is meeting in person in a committee room. Keep in mind the directives from the Board of Internal Economy regarding masking and health protocols. Before speaking, please wait until I recognize you by name. If you are on the video conference, please click on the microphone icon to unmute yourself. Those in the room, your microphone will be controlled as normal by the Proceedings Verification Officer. A reminder that all comments by members and witnesses should be addressed to the chair. When you are not speaking, your mic should be on mute. With regard to a speaking list, as always, both the committee clerk and myself will do our very best to maintain the order of speaking for all members, whether they are participating virtually or in person. Members, pursuant to Standing Committee 1082 and the motion adopted by the committee on October 29, 2020, the committee will now continue its study of targeted infrastructure investments. It's my pleasure to welcome as well as introduce our witnesses this evening. We have from the Association of Consulting Engineering Companies Canada, John Gamble, President and Chief Executive Officer. We have from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, Garth Frizzell, President and Councillor for the City of Prince George, and Matt Gemmell, Director, Policy and Research. The National Trade Contractors Council of Canada is represented by Sandra Skifsky, who is the chair. To all of you, welcome. I'll start off with Mr. Gamble. Mr. Gamble, you have the floor for 5 minutes for your opening remarks.
Thank you and good evening, Mr. Chair. As introduced, I am John Gamble, President and CEO of the Association of Consulting Engineering Companies Canada, and I thank you for the opportunity to contribute to your deliberations this evening. We are the national voice of over 400 firms that provide engineering and other professional services to both public and private sectors across Canada. Our members are experts in infrastructure and are directly involved in all aspects of its planning and delivery. Canada is globally recognized for its engineering services, and our member firms are among the largest and most successful providers of engineering services in the world. It is well documented that investments in infrastructure grow our economy, strengthen communities, and improve our overall quality of life. And while strategic approaches to infrastructure can potentially yield greater returns on investment, the local and varied needs of communities must also be considered. Targeted investments should not become top-down decisions imposed on communities. Therefore, to the extent and by which means investments should be targeted needs to be considered in context of the size, nature, and the required outcomes of infrastructure projects and programs. This means a suite of programs whose criteria should offer agility, flexibility, and scalability. The infrastructure investments that have been made in recent years by successive governments have been historic and laudable. It is both understandable and appropriate for government to leverage infrastructure investments as a tool to fulfill social, economic, and environmental outcomes. These kinds of transformative projects are important, but a balanced approach is also needed. This is especially true when you consider the ongoing infrastructure deficit that was identified in the 2019 Canadian Infrastructure Report Card. The federal government, therefore, must also ensure that communities have reliable core nuts and bolts infrastructure that provides the economic capacity to invest in the other more transformative projects. And whether infrastructure programs are strategically targeted or locally driven, and we do need both, they need to be flexible and scalable. That's why we're pleased to see such things as the government's recent proposed investment of an additional $2.2 billion in the gas tax fund. For more strategic and prescriptive programs like the Investing in Canada plan, every effort should be made to ensure that eligibility criteria focuses on outcomes and that screening lenses are appropriate and proportional to the size and nature of projects. As we all know and recognize, the sophistication and the capacity and needs of communities across Canada and within First Nations are incredibly varied. But government can help communities invest in the right infrastructure by helping build their capacity and increasing their access to best practices. For example, imagine if communities with robust and well-considered asset management plans can easily demonstrate their strategic goals that address their local needs. We would like to see the government not only continue to provide and expand support for these asset management plans, but also allow municipalities and First Nations to use implementation of their asset management plans as the basis for funding, rather than constantly reapplying for funding on a project by project basis. And I hope we'll have a chance to discuss this further. Building a growing community capacity can be achieved in part, and an easy one would be to reinstate the National Guide to Sustainable Municipal Infrastructure, also known as InfraGuide, which ran from 2001 to 2008, a partnership between our friends at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, the National Research Council, and Infrastructure Canada. Its network of public and private sector experts produced a collection of case studies, best practices, and e-learning tools for sustainable municipal infrastructure. Today, it would be closely aligned with much of the government's vision for infrastructure. Its reinstatement or creation of a comparable program would provide resources, tools, and capacity building opportunities to community, public agencies, and stakeholders. On a final note, I believe my aforementioned comments could potentially align with the National Infrastructure Assessment for which the government is undergoing consultations. This is the kind of undertaking that, if done well, has the potential to facilitate sound decision-making by providing accurate, reliable information on the state of our infrastructure, providing a home for state-of-the-art information and best practices, and just as important, monitoring our progress. Such an initiative, combined with sufficient investments and well-designed funding mechanisms, will ensure that Canadians will continue to enjoy social, economic, and benefits well into the future. In summary, targeted infrastructure investments based upon asset management planning provides the most value to communities and the best return to the taxpayer. Therefore, targeting investment works best when we help communities develop and grow their capacity, and we make the necessary resources and best practices available to them. Thank you again for the opportunity to speak with you all this evening, and I look forward to your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gamble. Well done. We're now going to move on to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities. We have Mr. Frizzle as well as Mr. Gamble. Gentlemen, you have the floor for 5 minutes.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Bonjour. Thank you for having us today. I'm coming to you from Prince George, BC, on the traditional unceded territory of the Lheidli. I'm joined by Matt Gemmell, as you noted. He's the Director of Policy and Research at FCM. And on behalf of FCM's 2,000 member municipalities, we commend you for tackling this important study. Municipalities own 60% of Canada's public infrastructure, and we influence over half of Canada's greenhouse gas emissions. From our place on the front lines, we identify and deliver investments that meet local needs and drive national outcomes. That's critical. As a country looks to infrastructure investment, it's going to support a sustainable, inclusive economic recovery. So I'm going to offer 3 examples of how municipalities are leveraging federal investments to grow the economy, to fight climate change, and to improve people's lives. First is public transit, where the federal government has committed $15 billion over the next 8 years. That's on top of the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Plan funding. Better transit supports economic growth by creating jobs, easing congestion, shortening commutes, and boosting productivity. It enables inclusive growth by connecting people to jobs, especially low-wage workers, women, and racialized Canadians. It promotes low carbon growth by reducing greenhouse gases from the transportation sector. In municipalities, we turn federal funding into outcomes. We build out subway, light rail, and bus networks, adopt low-emission, made-in-Canada electric buses. We expand active transportation for cyclists and pedestrians. The new National Transit Plan also acts on 2 long-standing FCM recommendations. First, Canada now has a dedicated fund for rural transit. And that's going to help smaller communities connect residents to healthcare, education, and jobs in regional centers, especially students, seniors, and persons with disabilities. We also welcome the new Permanent Transit Fund, starting in 2026 at $3 billion annually. Its predictability helps us plan long-term, and that includes integrating transportation, and land use planning, and it helps us build low carbon neighborhoods on the road to net zero. Second focus area is better internet access. That's a huge economic priority for rural and remote communities. FCM welcomed the new Universal Broadband Fund, and we were pleased to see a $1 billion boost in last week's budget. Now the priority is to deliver the funding quickly and efficiently. We want to drive some real results on the ground. It's a solid start to the ongoing investment we're going to need from all orders of government on the road to universal internet access. Third, les infrastructures communautaires.
Three, community infrastructure are another sector. Here, we're talking about libraries, recreation centers, pools, rinks, curling centers, concert halls. These are the heart of our communities, but they're not able to respond to today's needs. According to Statistics Canada, 40% of libraries, 5% of arenas, 50% of pools are over 20 years old. Renovating these installations is a wonderful means of reducing energy consumption, operational costs, and greenhouse gas emissions. The federal and municipal governments are cooperating in order to modernize these aging buildings in order to make sure that they respond to the needs of residents. We're doing this through the Green Municipal Fund of the FCM, and we're seeking a more inclusive and green Canada.
Tax fund for community infrastructure, from a new rec center near me and BC's Caribou Regional District to a new cycling path in Terrebonne, Quebec. The commitment to double this year's gas tax transfer as the Canada Community Building Fund. It's going to bring hundreds more projects to life, and it's going to create up to 20,000 jobs. Why is that so effective? Why does this tool work? It's because it's predictable and it's direct. And there's insight here for infrastructure investment in general. If you want to build this country, if you want to move national economic and climate numbers, you do it one community at a time. You do it by directly empowering local leaders who know what's needed and what works on the ground. That idea is baked into tools like the Gas Tax Fund, and we leave you with that insight as you move forward. All pandemic long, you've seen local leaders delivering for Canadians in your own communities of all sizes, and that's where Canada's recovery needs to take root as well. Whether it's building job-creating infrastructure, scaling up local climate solutions, or connecting all Canadians to high-speed internet, and with a durable solution to municipal operating budget shortfalls across the country, municipalities are going to be eager partners in driving that strong recovery that Canadians deserve. And with that, we look forward to answering any of your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Frizzell.
Merci.
We're now going to move on to the National Trade Contractors Council of Canada. Ms. Skivsky, you have the floor for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee for once again inviting me to participate in your discussions. It's a pleasure, other than the fact that I have Rocket Man now as an earworm playing in my head. Thank you so much. But talking about targeted infrastructure in underserved communities, which in many cases are those remote and rural areas. As you know, I am still the chair of the National Trade Contractors Council, and we represent about 12,000 trade contractors across Canada and about 500,000 employees. So, my perspective on this is from the practical, pragmatic, how do we get this done point of view. I want to start by reiterating the importance of infrastructure investments and its ability to improve socioeconomic conditions for these underserved areas, as well as being a proven way to spur economic growth and create jobs overall. And we appreciate the government's recognition of the importance of infrastructure in the recent federal budget. But as those gentlemen who preceded me, cannot stress enough the need to accelerate approvals and delivery of funding to projects, particularly in the short term. There are still many, many issues brewing in the construction industry, some of which have not fully played out yet. And having that stability in the market is extremely important. Having ambitious plans for transformative green infrastructure projects is critical to our country's future. However, it does not replace the need to address existing local priorities that'll be key to building um, local capacity in rural and remote communities. And it puts construction sector in a strong position to meet these objectives and ambitions of the government now and well into the future. When considering the ability for targeted infrastructure investments to influence social, economic, and environmental outcomes, one of the most important considerations from a contractor's perspective is having a sustained labor capacity based on these community-specific projects and needs. In order to ensure that projects have a meaningful impact on a community, the project needs to be first informed by the community-specific needs. And I know broadband was one of the key focus areas, and it is a basic service, but it could be an underutilized investment if there are more pressing core infrastructure needs, such as housing or water supply systems. These programs need to be designed with community to community flexibility, prioritizing the end user's needs and building sort of it's like a pyramid. You have to build that foundation layer on which you can build future infrastructure investments. And for example, you're not building a health clinic if you don't have safe and secure water supply. So um, that is a consideration to keep in mind. And then I mentioned earlier about capacity. So, oftentimes in these projects, contractors will transport workers, materials, equipment to rural and remote areas. And in some cases, they're using ice roads, barges, small planes. There's a lack of local supplies and skilled labor in these communities. And so consideration needs to be given to these projects because some of them require timing. If you miss, getting your equipment over while the ice road is operating, you're out by a year. And so all of these considerations need to be included when targeting some of these investments. Many trade contractors are very experienced in these logistics, but they're an important consideration when discussing this topic. And at the very last, it's about building and sustaining that project over time to ensure the success of that investment. Um, it's a broader effort needs to be made to train and build capacity for local workers to be part of the construction project, but also to be able to sustain and maintain that project over time instead of having to bring people in all the time or having something fall into disrepair and having to wait a very long time to get it fixed. Local capacity to provide workers in the construction phase is important. And many of these contracts require sort of local hiring practices. But generally, what happens is people are hired, they're on the periphery of the project's over, the contractor leaves, and there's no sustainable benefit in terms of added skills or knowledge left in that community. And these these are slowly being addressed. And sometimes, as I said, it's sometimes an individual contractor making provisions if they know they're doing projects in a certain area to get some training sent out there ahead of time. But there needs to be a more holistic approach to this to see, how can we move the needle? I mean, with technology now, it's getting easier and easier. But just coming in, building something, and leaving, you're not moving the needle as far as you possibly could, and you're not getting the best bang for your investment dollar. Um, in closing, we appreciate the committee undertaking the study and looking at this. These types of investments are needed to reduce the overall infrastructure deficit, improve the socioeconomic conditions for uh, all communities, but particularly those that have been underserved in the past. However, a great deal of thought needs to be placed on the complexity and magnitude of each individual project. Construction isn't as simple and straightforward as in some other places. And to make a difference to the local community for the longer term, training local people should be a consideration and not on an ad hoc individual contractor basis. It comes down to what that community wants and what they're able to sustain. Um, you have to address both the broad issues and the local ones and examine the questions like who's going to implement this project, how are they going to do it, what are the socioeconomic impacts, what training is required, And how will the project have a sustained positive impact beyond its initial development? And this is where the federal government can play a significant role. Um, as the funders for the targeted projects in these communities, the government can ask these important questions and work with various stakeholders and bring them together. Again, thank you for the opportunity to participate in this study, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Ms. Skiditsky. Well done once again for a second time in, I believe, the last 3 months. So great to have you out again. We're now going to start off in our first round. Each party is allowed 6 minutes, and we're going to start off with the Conservatives. Mr. Scheer, you have the floor for 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair, and thank you to all our witnesses. It's great to see you. I know FCM has been here before, and Sandra, it's great to see you again. I'm not sure if the clerk has informed you, but if you appear before this committee one more time, then your fourth appearance is free. So I think that's something that's in the standing orders. That in FCM, of course, it's great to have you, all of you, help inform this committee as we deal with some very difficult and challenging issues, but also issues that are very important, very necessary for our communities. I really appreciate the testimony and some of the materials that your organizations have put out in the past. I can tell you on the side of the Conservative Party, we believe that infrastructure is very important. That's why we made a rock solid commitment in the last election campaign to maintain the levels of funding for infrastructure, and why we've been particularly disappointed at the abysmal record that the current government has in terms of getting projects built. I put a question on the order paper just recently that was just answered yesterday, actually, that shows that the Department of Infrastructure let $8 billion lapse. That was between the time this government formed in 2015 to just before the last election, 2019. $8 billion of infrastructure dollars went unspent. That was money that was committed that municipalities were told they would be eligible for, but the department's own records show that the money didn't flow. Of course, the Canadian Infrastructure Bank, which was supposed to unleash billions of dollars of private sector investment, according to the parliamentary budget officer, has resulted in no infrastructure dollars, no private sector dollars being committed to these projects. So that's why I think the study is so timely. Is we need to find a way to fix what's going on, to right the ship and actually get some of these projects built. So maybe I'll start with Mr. Gamble. You talked about the top-down decisions, and I just want to give you an opportunity to speak to that again. One of the things that I represent Regina. It's a community that has its own particular challenges and needs. It's very different from Vancouver, very different from Halifax. And speaking with my mayors over the course of my career, it's sometimes very difficult because a government in Ottawa will set terms and set parameters and set filters. And there are very real needs that the people of Regina need addressed, and their tax dollars are going to fund these infrastructure programs. They're paying into it, and yet many times the city of Regina will say, well, we don't really fit into this box because of our size, because of our geographic location. So I just wanted to give you an opportunity to expand on that, the need for local flexibility and not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Mr. Gamble.
Yeah, agility and flexibility are very key to a successful infrastructure. It's entirely appropriate for the government to have prescriptive programs that are trying to achieve certain things, but they're not going to solve all the problems for all the municipalities. There's a lot of municipalities in this country that do not need an LRT. The idea, however, there is room for both types of programs, and to some degree there are. The challenge we have is getting the right number of the right programs for the right needs. And this is where infrastructure assessment and planning comes in. And if I can use a bit of a metaphor, if you're a homeowner and you want to put hardwood floors in your house, that's terrific. It increases the value, increases people's enjoyment. It's a great investment. On the other hand, another homeowner might want these hardwood floors, but they have to repair their roof first. That has to happen first. Well, what happens if you are ready to go and repair your roof, but all you can find are large-scale programs for hardwood flooring? And it's really the need to match needs and requirements and the goals of municipalities and other infrastructure owners with the available funding. And that's very difficult to do. It's improving because we have seen a lot of effort into asset management planning, and that's the key. And if we can sort of roll these up into a national infrastructure assessment, and I know there's a lot to be written on that yet, and I think this is going to be worth investing a lot of time and effort into getting right. But it's really building the capacity of municipalities where they don't have it, and listening to the ones that do. And the other piece that I said I hope we could come back to, if you'll indulge me, is that we do have municipalities that are investing significantly in very good asset management plans, yet they have to come back and apply for funding, usually project by project, hoping that there's a program available when they need to develop a certain type of asset. So what if we were to give the option to municipalities or First Nations, anyone with a plan, and say, we will fund the implementation of your plan over the next several years. And as long as you follow the plan, you do not have to come back to us for each new project. So that you don't have the trope of you get money for pavement, so you pave your roads, and next year you get money for sewers, so you rip up the pavement to put in your sewers. I think that if we can give a lot of latitude to municipalities to follow their plans, then one, it'll help with us sort of map out the project pipeline. It'll make sure that all these infrastructures sort of mesh together, and it will help give a good forecast for the types of programs we need and the scale of programs we need. I hope that answered your question.
No, I think that's helped for sure. Maybe very quickly, it's always tough to fit all these questions in, but to Mr. Frizzell, just on the fact that the government did let $8 billion of infrastructure spending go on lapse, we're still kind of trying to find out how that happened. In your experiences with FCM, would you say it's because there weren't projects? Or was it because municipalities didn't have the need for that spending, or maybe you could speak? Were there projects that could have gone ahead had the government figured out exactly how to make sure it got shovels in the ground quickly, or was it just that there were no projects to be applied for?
Bill?
Thank you, MP Sharon. Great to see you again since our meeting in November with all of FCM. And thanks for the question. You know, municipalities plan 5 years out, so we have a great number of projects. We acknowledge that some of the ISIP rollout has been slow, but certainly we have a large number of projects, and some of it, I'll have to speak from experience, has been effective. In my community, we're building a brand new swimming pool that was financed through a referendum with our citizens, but there was a $10 million contribution through ISIP that's going to create a pool with greenhouse gas reductions of 90%, and it's in the downtown, so it's going to be serving some of our more vulnerable population. That said, yes, there are lots of projects, and with members in all the ridings in Canada, can be assured it's a pretty wide and diverse set of projects that we're managing. If I can follow up on Mr. Gamble's comment on the asset management piece.
I'm gonna have to hold you up, Mr. Frizzell. You can hopefully squeeze that into another answer. We're just running a little bit over time here for the next speaker. Thank you. And thank you, Mr. Chair. We're now going to move on to the Liberals. We have a split time between Mr. Iacono and Ms. Jacek. Mr. Iacono, I'm assuming you're going to go first. You have the floor for 3 minutes, and followed by your colleague, Ms. Jacek.
Merci à tous d'être présents ce soir. Monsieur le Président, je suis...
Thank you all for being here. I'm very pleased to hear the comments shared by Mr. Frizzell on our investments and the comments made by Mr. Gamble. He indicated 15 billion for transit. This is almost the same amount as the Conservatives were planning to cut in 2019. The numerous investments made by our government allowed to implement different projects seeking to make our communities more green. These 30 million invested in the plant in my county alone, in Laval, for example. I would be extremely curious to find out what projects would have been affected by the $18 billion of cuts that were planned by Conservative government. My question is for the representatives of the FCM. According to you, how can our government make sure that our investments in infrastructure will allow to continue to build green and inclusive communities?
Merci beaucoup, MP Iacono.
Thank you, MP Iacono. I will continue in English.
The programs that we have been implementing have been wonderful. We've appreciated them, but what works best for municipalities is when we can get predictable, sustainable, green, inclusive funding. The doubling of the gas tax fund was a real benefit, and we've heard from our members all across Canada that that was welcomed and applauded. The gas tax fund is a proven tool, very effective at getting money out, and municipalities keep a really close eye on what we need most in our own communities. So finding the projects to work with isn't the challenge. Delivering them in a green and inclusive way is something that that we have history and immense skill with as well. I'm going to ask Mr. Gemmell if he wanted to elaborate on the difference between the grant programs and the direct programs. We've had some new unprecedented systems. Mr. Gemmell, would you like to?
Mr.
I'd be happy to. Thank you, Garth, and pleasure to be with all of you today. Just a couple of comments along those lines. First off, on the topic of study at hand around targeted infrastructure investments and the difference between a direct allocation like the federal gas tax fund, now the community building fund, versus application-based programs. It's been FCM's view that there's a role for both, but for the reasons that both Mr. Frizzell and Mr. Gamble spoke to earlier, there's a lot of strength in the predictability that comes with a direct allocation like the gas tax fund, which is why FCM has consistently held it up as an ideal model for delivering infrastructure funding. If I could comment specifically on the $15 billion commitment on transit funding, just quickly a couple of points as to why FCM feels it's so important. First is the predictability, consistent with the mechanism of the gas tax fund that the proposed permanent transit fund will bring. And so this is starting in 2026, a commitment to an annual investment of at least $3 billion per year. And transit planning, as you all know from experience in your regions, takes many years, especially the big LRT subway projects. These are 10-year planning horizons. So having that long-term predictability is key. And FCM is very pleased to see that commitment. And then in the near term, as part of the economic recovery, very pleased to see the specific allocations for rural transit, as well as active transportation and investments to transition towards low and zero emission transit vehicles. So just wanted to outline those elements of that $15 billion transit commitment.
Thank you, Mr. Gamble, and thank you, Mr. Iacono. We're now going to move on to Ms. Jacek. Ms. Jacek, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the witnesses. I certainly hear that you appreciate the additional fund that we're putting into infrastructure in the 2021 budget. And as you know, as a result of COVID-19, we have the resiliency stream where we've expanded eligibility for projects to even include schools, hospitals. Schools in particular, I'm very pleased about. Not only will it improve ventilation, but here in Southern Ontario in June and September, because most of us do believe in climate change, we know that our kids were absolutely sweltering in many cases. So increased ventilation in schools is something that I'm extremely enthusiastic about. But Ms. Skivsky, sorry. You talked about accelerating approvals. Can you give us some ideas on how you would do that? We know that the resiliency stream has had a number of approvals to date, but give us some specific ways that our government can improve the process.
Thank you. So my point there, there's so many programs that got rolled out, particularly, due to the pandemic so quickly. So a part of it would be like a rapid deployment fund. There are projects that are probably, very close to being ready to go. Under this sort of rapid deployment, you might want to look at the criteria of what's holding stuff up. Where's the bottleneck? Because I still hear from the front lines of all of these programs, which is the people that are doing the constructing, that there still isn't sort of that flow of projects that sort of increases the confidence in the industry. So I'm, it doesn't have to be for, I'm not talking about, all of the programs in entirety, but in cases like this where conditions are still very volatile, supply chain issues, et cetera, um, if you had a rapid deployment fund that could very quickly move and sort of change the end results and get things going. And so again, it's a matter of looking at what filters you're going to apply, what conditions, go to those, because I have heard of different provinces putting projects forward and, not hearing back for a while, or projects that should be going forward, but they're still awaiting sort of last signatures. It's that sort of movement into shovel in the ground, because shovel ready is a very difficult concept for me to get my head around. Shovel ready means delayed.
Thank
Shovel in
you.
the ground means it's working.
Thank you, Ms. Skipsky, and thank you, Ms. Jasek. We're now going to move on to our next speaker for 6 minutes from the block. We're going to look upon Mr. Barceau Duval. Where are you? There you are. You have the floor for 6 minutes.
Bien, bonsoir tout le monde.
Good evening, everyone, our witnesses, and Mr. Chair. Perhaps I could begin my first question with Mr. Gamble. In your speech earlier, you spoke about something that struck me, that it's important for programs implemented by governments that they have a certain amount of flexibility. On our side, we note that over the past few years, we haven't necessarily seen that. We've seen quite the opposite. There seems to be a tightening up or an increase in the amount of eligibility criteria. If I think about Quebec and the federal government, it is constantly adding new criteria to the funding, and this oftentimes delays agreements, and it's very difficult to obtain funding in a reasonable timeline. Do you think this type of thing is happening?
I'd say that yes, it's much more complicated getting projects approved for a host of reasons, some of them quite justifiable, and others I think we just sometimes need to stop and take stock and says, are all these steps in the program approval, project approval necessary? Sandra spoke about rapid response fund, and this is a little bit of an oblique answer, but what I find is that the last time, we should actually have contingency for this sort of thing and discuss them when it's not a crisis. But the last time, the worst time to come up with a crisis contingency is during the crisis. But if you have a crisis contingency, how we can get money out faster, then you can ask yourself, well, why can't we do this all the time? So I think I'm not a management consultant, but I think there should be an opportunity for continuous improvement. And the other piece too is approving programs rather than individual projects and building that upon the asset management, because there is an interrelated plan where municipalities looked at their needs, the future, and how all their different projects are going to work together. And then once there's agreement on that vision, then the opportunities, instead of having a project by project application, say we're going to support you with X amount over the next years to implement that program, go, and we'll just ask you to make sure, demonstrate that you're following that program. I think that would solve a lot of problems.
Merci beaucoup. Monsieur Frizel.
Thank you, Mr. Frizel. Earlier on, you were talking about the importance of, well, in English, you were talking about empowering local communities. In other words, to empower local people so that they're able to make decisions that are to their benefit because they know their issues. And you also talked about predictability. In Quebec, we have what is called the gas tax fund. It exists elsewhere in Canada, but in the past, municipalities had the practice to use the amounts left over that didn't really correspond to the federal criteria to use the money for other projects. It's no longer possible, but this was decried by municipalities in Quebec because we were not able to reach an agreement with the federal government to make sure that this could be solved. We're talking about funding of community centers, city halls, fire halls, Smaller municipalities, well, it's at the very heart of their infrastructure. In larger municipalities, they can invest in other things, but for the smaller ones, not really. On the side of the FCM, is there an appetite for this type of flexibility?
Oh, merci, Monsieur Barcelot-Duval. Je ne connais pas les mots techniques. Je dois continuer en anglais. So FCM agrees that there is room to improve the eligibility criteria, as you spoke to, for example, for emergency service equipment, municipal buildings, or municipal water control structures for eligible projects under the gas tax fund or under ISIP as well. This leads us back to the discussion I wanted to get into a little earlier, and that's the success we've had with our municipal asset management program. When we laid that program out in partnership with the federal government, the uptake from municipalities was substantial and near immediate, so much so that the extension of the program has been highly welcome. I'll ask Mr. Gemmell in a moment to just elaborate on that, but I can tell you that the asset management programs in place in communities are recognized and they're successful from here in Prince George across Canada. Mr. Gemmell?
Yeah, that's right. Mr. Barcelot-Duval, you spoke about the need to empower municipalities, the opportunities to empower municipalities. As Mr. Gamble spoke about, a big part of that empowerment is around capacity building. And we do that directly through the Municipal Asset Management Program that's funded by Infrastructure Canada. And there is a significant opportunity there, especially as we talk about, as this committee is looking at, improving environmental, social, economic outcomes related to infrastructure investment. There's an opportunity there to support municipalities at the local level to improve technical expertise, human resource capacity, training around how to design, plan, build infrastructure so that it achieves those outcomes. And that capacity building element, I think, is an important solution to this, juxtaposition between, federal conditions on the funding versus, ultimate flexibility on behalf of municipalities. And municipalities, welcome and fully support the priorities that the federal government has set on infrastructure, particularly around climate, social inclusion, and economic development. And improving municipal capacity to design and build infrastructure, as I say, to meet those objectives is a really important way that we can work together in a way that moves money quickly, directly to where it's needed to deliver results for Canadians and doesn't hold that money up in lengthy approval processes.
Thank you, Mr. Gamble. And thank you, Mr. Barcelot-Duval. We're now going to go to the NDP. Mr. Bachrach, you have the floor for 6 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to our witnesses for appearing today. It's great to continue this discussion. It's been an interesting one so far, and it's especially good to see my friend, Mr. Frizzell from Prince George, which is a mere 4-hour drive down the road, which in our part of the world pretty much constitutes being in the same neighborhood. And I'd like to start with Mr. Frizzell, and as someone who worked in local government for over a decade, I've sympathized with the plight of local governments in the pandemic. And my first question is, could you lay out for the committee what the impacts of the pandemic have been on the municipal sector when it comes to infrastructure?
Well, certainly. And thank you, MP Bachrach. The honorific used to be your worship, but I'm not sure right now. It's been substantial and it has been gutting to our budgets. When the transit fund over the last year, with ridership down 70 to 90%, we were in serious trouble all across the country. Our operating budgets took a hit. And what that meant is we immediately had to swing into action by cutting our infrastructure. So in Prince George, for instance, $25.9 million in projects that we needed, things, roads, water, other projects had to be put aside and put off. So in the fall, we really welcomed the Safe Restart program. the impact that had on operating budgets was substantial and important. But the knock-on effects of putting off or canceling infrastructure projects are substantial. What we saw were, the jobs that would have come in through those construction projects. We also saw that things that we needed to get done, not being done across the country. When you slow down the economy because of a pandemic, when you slow down infrastructure because of the pandemic, these aren't projects that are want to haves. These are need to haves. So yes, substantial impact across the line. And I want to say that in particular, it's really highlighted some of the cracks in our broadband. The digital divide was really highlighted because we needed to have a stronger reliance on internet all across the country for healthcare, for education, in our case, for government services like provincially applying for a ballot to vote in our local election. This is substantial and it's important, and it has been highlighted. So thank you for the question, MP Bachrach.
Mr. Bachrach?
Mr. Frizzell, you mentioned the Safe Restart Agreement, and I understand that the emergency funding that was provided through that agreement for municipal operations and for transit in particular is starting to run out. Is that something you're hearing from your members?
Mr. Frizzell?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And we have needs. The needs don't go away. And we would welcome another commitment. Would welcome having more discussions along that line. Right now, municipalities are just dealing with a lot of uncertainty. We're many of us just finished either budget or going through the final stages of that, and none of us knows what's ahead. But it's one of the things that's really shone out in Canada throughout this pandemic is the partnership between all the orders of government. We didn't abandon each other. We got closer together to solve the problem for our constituents. And if that's a lesson we can take away for Canada, thank you. It was appreciated.
Mr. Bachrach?
When it comes to transit specifically, the Safe Restart money has been helping transit services survive through this difficult period when their fare box revenue has essentially dried up. Now we're hearing from those transit authorities that the funding through the Safe Restart isn't going to last them forever. What are the risks if transit authorities don't get additional support? We still haven't seen ridership recover. We don't know how long that's going to take. What's at stake here when it comes to Canada's transit systems?
Mr. Frizzell?
Well, let me say that the biggest impact was the transit revenue. Ridership has been impacted. We're expecting that to be a problem for years to come, and the recovery on that is going to be, as I said, gut-wrenching. We all need to work together, and we've got the transit commitments that are coming to fruition, but we need a more durable solution to transit and the operating budget shortfalls. We've got to build on the SRA, and it's a solution that's going to need the provinces, it's going to need the territories involved. With some additional targeted operating support, municipalities won't be forced to cut services as much or defer capital projects. Those are things that create jobs. And if we have to defer capital projects on transit to cover our operating shortfalls, we all lose. We're ready to step up. We want to be full partners in Canada's recovery.
One quick one. Taylor?
Okay, a quick one. Mr. Frizzell, the permanent transit fund, I think that's something that a lot of people welcomed. It's certainly something the NDP's been calling for a long time. We were a bit concerned to see that it only begins in 2026. Is that something you're hearing from your members from the big cities across Canada? Would they have liked to see that permanent transit fund start earlier, say in the current fiscal year?
Mr. Frizzell?
Oh, we welcome the government's commitment on this one. We're really pleased, and yes, we got substantial support right across the board. Of course, we always want to get things moving as quickly as possible. We'll celebrate the wins, but we're eager to get this going as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Frizzell, and thank you, Mr. Bachrach. Great questions. We're now going to move on to our second round, starting off with the Conservatives. Ms. Cussy, you have the floor for 5 minutes. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you to all of our witnesses for being here today as we continue this study. Ms. Gifsky, I'll start with you. You mentioned in your last response supply chain issues. I was hoping you might be able to expand upon the supply chain issues that your members face, please.
Ms. Gifsky?
Thank you. Yeah, where to begin? Never mind that the costs of materials. I mean, we've all heard about lumber and wood, steel, aluminum, components for HVAC systems. Um, from you just name it, and there's an issue either with a delivery or just overall availability and the costs. There are certain suppliers like for some things they're only holding like prices for 24 hours. How do you bid something when you don't know what the price is next week? So there's that side, and we're still struggling with labor. As I said, we haven't gotten everybody back. I think the retirements that we've all talked about for years are starting to really roll out, particularly in the trades. I mean, that's hard physical work. And so, productivity's behind. So there's, like I said, there are a lot of issues that are overlapping each other. The fact that the industry has done well and has maintained sort of safety standards, better than most is a positive. But whenever you're planning infrastructure, the one thing you have to consider is the who's going to bring it to fruition, which is constructors and workers. And so we have to plan too, in terms of training and having that labor force available. I mean, the worst thing that could happen is that the market for construction gets hot, and then there's a whole bunch of additional public sector expenditures on top of that. Because then you're in an overheated market and you have another set of issues that arise coming out of that. So anything where the plans can be a little bit more consistent over time, that there's a sense of what's rolling out each year. It obviously will need to be adjusted. This is a fluid situation. Construction always is. But the more planning there is, the more sort of everybody's on the same page and knowing what's happening over a shorter period of time, readjusted. But to say like, a program that's going to put out a lot of money in these years, no matter what's happening in the market, that's going to create problems for everybody, for municipalities, for governments, for private sector, and for the construction industry itself. As this pandemic's created a hit to training. It's still going on, but it's reduced. We have capacity constraints and everything else, of trying to keep everybody safe and moving forward. But to say that the industry is operating full capacity, it's not.
You talk about capacity in regards to supply chains. Do you ever hear concerns about port capacity?
About port capacity? That's probably a step removed from most trade contractors, but anything that constrains, products coming in. That's one thing about construction. You try to, source local a lot. It's more cost effective, but there are things that come in from other countries, and so anything that constrains that movement creates a ripple effect. It's just that right now it's sort of unprecedented. The pricing of products, the delivery. I mean, just our own organization, we're trying to buy a truck for training, a big semi, and they're talking like December, January, maybe. So you multiply that across the country, and you can see everybody's sort of grappling with this. And so, my perspective on this, and I agree with a lot of things that both John and Mr. Frizzell have said. I was focused a little bit more on remote and rural communities that are really hard to provide services to and do tend to be underserved a lot. There's just a lot of things that you need to consider from the building and the constructing and implementing side, as well as everybody else's perspectives on top of that. So I think I've answered your question and
I
then
think,
some.
yeah, I think so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gibsky.
Thank you, Ms. Skipsky, and thank you, Ms. Kusi.
Thank you, Chair.
We're now going to move on to the Liberals. We have Mr. Rogers, and I believe Mr. Rogers is splitting your time with Mr. Alcuri. So you're up first for 3 minutes, and then we'll move on to Faisal. You have the floor, Mr. Rogers.
Okay, thanks, Chair. Welcome to our witnesses. Great to see former FCM Border Tables Director Garth. And I've got a question which I'm going to direct to him as president, of course. And as a former mayor and president of municipal sector provincially in Newfoundland and Labrador, and as a board member of FCM, I guess one of our favorite topics of discussion, President Faisal, was gas tax and what it could do for municipalities and the importance of that fund as we roll it out and as we've seen for the past number of years. And during this pandemic, of course, our government has realized the impact it has on municipalities, big and small, realizing that you guys have been on the front lines of the fight against COVID as well. And of course, because of that, we've decided that we're going to double the gas tax fund. It's an important contribution to municipalities. So, Garth, if you could, I'd like for you to speak to the importance of this funding and the flexibility it provides to you and your organization for addressing the needs of communities.
Mr. Faisal.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through to MP Rogers, great to see you again. Really appreciate seeing all of the recognition of the municipal experience around the table. The gas tax fund, absolutely critical. All across Canada, it's a very simple and effective way to get funding from the federal government to local governments. And it gives us the flexibility to apply it where we need it in very different ways all across the country. The doubling of the gas tax fund, as I said earlier, welcomed all across the country. It's fast, it's effective, and municipalities are incredibly accountable for the dollars spent. As an order of government, with all across the country, not the inability to run deficits, having the extra funding available for our capital projects has been critical, particularly in this year, when many of us did have to put off capital projects and have been suffering from a devastating hit to our operating revenues. And particularly if we look into our members in the prairie provinces, they've been very hard hit with their municipal revenues. So getting this additional revenue, getting this commitment that could roll out so quickly, highly welcome. Much appreciated. Does that answer your question?
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, I'll pass over the rest of the time to Mr. Alcuri for his question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Faisal. Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Alcuri, you have the floor for the remaining time, 3 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, and welcome to our witnesses. My first question is for Mr. Gamble. The social inequalities that exist within our communities have been worsened by the COVID-19 pandemic. How can infrastructure investment contribute to close these systematic gaps?
That's a little bit like asking how long a piece of string is. There's so many ways that infrastructure can impact people's lives. But if I can give you an example, something that maybe is not considered, sort of nuts and bolts infrastructure, but something like community housing, community centers, and what's sometimes called soft infrastructure. If it allows somebody that has trouble getting work because they can't access a workplace, and we can create a situation where they are in close proximity to where the jobs are, or creating transit systems or transportation systems that allow people to access livelihoods, then you're creating more people to contribute to the tax base, which then in turn contributes to more people that can help shoulder the burden of financing infrastructure. Infrastructure creates value. We have to find ways to capture that value so that's reinvest in infrastructure so that we get that cyclic effect. But it creates jobs in the short term, not just for engineers and constructors, but it continues. One thing about infrastructure, it continues to generate benefits long after my members and Sandra's members have gone, long after people have put away the blueprints and everything, and there's been a ribbon cutting, and long after everyone involved in this call is done. These assets are going to continue to provide benefits for decades, and we have to view investment infrastructure accordingly. And one thing, if you want the best outcomes, societal, environmental, or economic, we can't treat infrastructure as an expense to be minimized, but rather an investment to be leveraged. And that would be my greatest advice to creating important societal change and getting the infrastructure we need. And that would solve a lot of making sure that we're getting the right infrastructure, because sometimes public procurement can constrain the design options, it can constrain the visioning that happens. So I have a lot of members that they have big visions and big ideas how to address some of the very problems you raised. We just don't want to be hamstrung by unnecessary red tape or procurement that encourages us to be as unimaginative as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Gamble. Thank you, Mr. Algeri. We're now going to move on to the block. Mr. Barceau-Duval, you have the floor for 2.5 minutes.
Merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is for Mrs. Kitsky. We oftentimes hear, well, we've heard about the need for infrastructure, but we also hear from municipalities the fact that it's expensive. Infrastructure is very costly. And this is normal, but at the same time, could some means be used to lower costs? I have some ideas on this, but I'd like to hear you speak to it. Oftentimes we hear that some contractors don't bid on projects because they say, well, maybe, am I going to be paid next year, in 5 years, 10 years? And this is a fear sometimes on the side of contractors. They think, well, maybe I'm not able to wait to be waiting to be paid. So could some methods be implemented to try to encourage that our local business people can obtain contracts, and that there be room, and that they be able to apply? Oftentimes we have firms from the larger cities that are given these contracts, and the smaller businesses are sometimes left aside.
Thank you. It's true that there is a reduction in sort of the number of firms that will bid certain types of projects. And we hope when the federal government gets prompt payment implemented, some of the payment issues will be a little bit relieved on some of these projects. But I do take your point. So for a trade contractor to take on a project, you have to invest at least 2 months worth of work and labor and everything before you're starting to get paid. So you can only take on so many projects. If the project's too big, it'll impact that company's cash flow to such an extent that any delay in payment could be catastrophic. So bundling projects into large sort of mega projects doesn't always work to get local firms working on those particular projects. If they were given out as separate contracts, you could probably get more local interest. But you're right, Miles, like anything that stretches out a payment term for a small contractor is difficult. And so your pool of available bidders becomes reduced. And as I said, bundling into, several medium or small size projects into one large project also starts to exclude some of these players. And the other thing I would strongly say, if it's infrastructure spending, it should be Canadian firms that are sort of looked at preferentially, because bringing in foreign companies to do work in Canada with taxpayer dollars, that's another sort of topic that some of our NTCCC folks are particularly sensitive to. So, you're right that these projects could be made more accessible.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Skipsky, and thank you, Mr. Barceau-Duval. We're now going to move on to the NDP. Mr. Bachrach, you have the floor for 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Frizzell, the recent budget included $1.5 billion towards the Rapid Housing Initiative, but this falls considerably short of what it's going to take to meet the government's stated goal of ending chronic homelessness in Canada. Could you tell us from FCM's perspective, what is it going to take to meet that goal?
Frizzell.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So in our pre-budget submission, we did our forecasting, and it's going to cost $7 billion. So this addition to the Rapid Housing Initiative is welcomed and it's helpful, but we still have a ways to go on our shared goals towards ending chronic homelessness. So I'm going to pass it to Mr. Gemmell for the details on it, but I will say that this partnership, it's unprecedented, and having that connection directly from the federal government to local governments is welcomed and critical to us. Mr. Gemmell?
Mr. Gemmell?
Sure. Thank you, Garth. A couple of things I'll say about the Rapid Housing Initiative. One, which is relevant for our discussion today about the mechanisms around how funding is delivered to other orders of government. The Rapid Housing Initiative, I think, is a model in that regard, in that it doesn't follow a strict federal, provincial, territorial funding agreement model as so much other affordable housing and infrastructure funding does. It has an element that provides funding directly to municipalities on an allocation basis, based on their population and based on need. And that's quite a change from how affordable housing funding has been delivered in the past. The other thing that's noteworthy is that it's quite an innovative funding model in that it responds very directly to the unique context presented by the COVID-19 pandemic, in that it provides funding for municipalities, nonprofits, housing providers to purchase properties, hotels, apartment blocks that are at a below market value as a result of the pandemic, and with the goal of reducing overall operating costs. Municipalities and social housing providers spend a lot of money renting motels and hotels to provide emergency housing for the most vulnerable residents in their communities. And so providing permanent housing and in certain cases supportive housing that involves wraparound social and health support is a proven best practice and is more cost effective for the taxpayer. In terms of the need, the federal government has made the commitment to end chronic homelessness, and that is a laudable goal that FCM and our members fully support. And it's going to require serious long-term resources and a long-term funding commitment. The commitment we saw in the recent budget is the right rate of investment, but it doesn't provide the length of commitment that we were looking for, and falls short of the overall $7 billion figure that FCM and other housing stakeholders arrived at as a cost of providing permanent supportive housing for the estimated number of Canadians that are experiencing homelessness.
Thank you, Mr. Gemmell, and thank you, Mr. Bachrach. Great questions, and thank you for the interventions. We're now going to move on for 5 minutes. Conservatives, we have Mr. Soroka. You have the floor for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And my first question will go to Mr. Frizzell. You had spoken about internet, and I know that's been a big issue for a lot of people in my riding as well. And I guess I'm concerned about the failures of this government for being in power for 6 years and having 5 different funding streams and the poor communication between each one of the organizations that offer funding. Now, I know municipalities can't apply for all the funding levels from these different grant programs, but are you finding or have heard from other municipalities that where they're putting in either fiber optic or they're trying to connect for one community and they'll jump over 2 and 3 communities to get to another one, and they're poorly servicing rural Canada? Have you experienced this?
Well, let me start. Thank you very much, MP Soroka, and through the chair, let me start by saying that the news out today is from a small community northeast of mine, Tumbler Ridge, that lost its entire internet connectivity when a beaver chewed through the fiber optic line. But as for constructing new lines, and that's a one-off funny incident, but it's not so funny in rural Canada because we see a tractor can go through a line. In 2017, the wildfires that raged through northern BC eliminated internet connections as well. As it's being constructed, yes, we do see that there are I'm thinking of local examples where the internet implementation does jump from community to community as they're doing consultation. But with the Universal Broadband Fund, while we were happy that that the intake was extended, here's a few of the things that we're calling on the federal government to do right now. We want to maximize the investment outcomes by ensuring effective coordination between the internet service providers with the local government through FCM, with provincial and territorial governments and federal departments and agencies. We want to deliver on the commitment to expedite funding delivery. We want streamlined application processes and a one-window intake, especially for those smaller communities you're talking about. They need help. They've got to have some support because they just don't have the capacity. And third, we're asking that we continue to measure and report on the progress and regularly reassess the timelines and the level of public investment that's required. This is urgent. We've got to get all Canadians connected.
Mr. Soroka.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Back to Mr. Frizzell. I know the gas tax is quite a benefit, and that was actually started by the Conservative Party, first implemented that. And one of the things that I did want to ask you, though, is that, when you take that $2 billion and divide it amongst all the municipalities, it's a nice, predictable funding stable. But the problem comes to is it's only of a larger municipality, a couple 100,000, you can't even pave a kilometer of road for that kind of money. So FCM have a recommendation where they'd like to see that number, or is this something that's not even talked about?
Well, thank you. Our recommendation was to double the gas tax for 3 years coming out of the pandemic. But I did want to emphasize one of the benefits with the funding that comes through the gas tax fund is it's not just creating new infrastructure, it's also maintaining of existing infrastructure. And that can be incredibly helpful for small and large communities alike. We'll always welcome increases to the volume, of course, of the size of the funding, but we're certainly able to and welcome the doubling. Thank
you. Mr. Soroka.
My next question, Mr. Chair, is to Mr. Gamble. You had mentioned that there's a lot of money that goes out and for municipalities that apply for funding, but it's not necessarily a need for their community. So they have to go and apply because the grant is there, such as for a water system or a road, but they need to have housing and that grant isn't available. Are you finding that there should be better tailored to each community versus just a generic grant application?
Well, again, I think part of the solution is leveraging the asset management plans that many municipalities have invested in. I think where municipalities and other communities, and this is certainly true of First Nations, where there may be less capacity to develop these plans, we should do everything we can to give them this capacity. And the idea is to match the available funds to the actual needs that have been determined on the ground. Now, the other piece of this that I alluded to is there is a potential for the national infrastructure assessment to make them more global, because one thing infrastructure doesn't just build communities, it also connects communities and allows commerce to happen and all these other important things. And I think there's a real opportunity there to make sure the programs are right-sized, rightly targeted, and capacity in the municipalities, and this was alluded to, I think it was Mr. Frizzell that mentioned this, but if we have great capacity and decision-making in the municipalities, it takes a lot of burden off the federal government and to put all these check boxes and lenses and filters, because if we're relying on the public servants and the elected officials in the community to make sure that funds are invested correctly in a reasonable way, then that will help. So I don't think we have to throw out the baby with the bathwater to get to where we need to be, but I think we got to get all the parts working together a little better.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Gamble. Thank you, Mr. Soroka, and thank you, Mr. Fazell. We're now going to go to our last speaker for the little party, Mr. Fillmore. Mr. Fillmore, you have the floor for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chair, and thanks so much to the witnesses for joining us tonight and sharing your experiences and observations. Very, very important to hear from you. I'm just not quite sure where to start here, but my colleagues on the committee know that I was a city planner for more than 20 years before coming to this job, and I look at my work through that lens. You can't take the planner out of the kid, I guess, but because of my closeness to this file, I just wanted to make sure we all understood that it was actually Paul Martin and the Liberal government that created the gas tax fund and required integrated sustainable community funds and so forth that allowed access to that fund. And of course, that was in response to a sort of a starvation diet that cities had been going on in a previous conservative government. And then we saw that pattern repeat leading up to the Liberal government in 2015. And we don't have to think back too far to remember the famous FCM report card on the state of municipal infrastructure in 2014, 2015. I think the phrase that I remembered was a ticking time bomb of unfunded liability. And I certainly quoted that report card on just about every doorstep that I stood on in the 2015 election. And what a distance we've come since then. We are now in a generational investment in community infrastructure. We are changing the appearance and the functionality of our country, of communities, coast to coast to coast. We have thousands of projects approved under the ICIP, $180 billion at stake. And of course, I should point out, no funding lapses. There's no such thing as funding lapsing. It just gets carried over into the following year. And then right when we were hitting our stride with that, along came COVID, and we answered the call again with the Safe Restart Fund that we've mentioned tonight, the doubling the gas tax to puff up municipal coffers in their moment of need, the Rapid Housing Initiative. In fact, 2 sites have dug holes in Halifax just in the last week under the RHI. So there's a lot going on here. And in fact, in the pandemic period, just since March 2020, we have approved over 3,100 projects worth over $4 billion, the vast majority of which are underway or have actually commenced. So these are the times to live. I mean, the planner and me can hardly believe that I've been waiting for this for my whole life, and I think maybe the witnesses have too. It's something that I could only dream about back as an idealistic student, that we would be investing in communities in this way. I want to kind of land that if I could, and I know I kind of got a lot off my chest there, but I'm very excited, as you can tell. I want to land that with the $1.5 billion Green and Inclusive Community Buildings Fund. And the things we're trying to do are bring the economy back and create jobs, reduce GHGs, and create an inclusive economy and recovery in which everybody can participate. And community buildings are a beautiful way to do that. Ms. Skibsky, I was particularly interested in your connection of that to building local capacity and local knowledge and training. But I wonder if you or if anyone else would like to jump in and talk about the impact of that program on communities and on our recovery.
Ms. Skibsky?
I'm not sure I can speak directly to that very, very effectively, but my point about the training and leaving behind that skill and knowledge set. I think John mentioned about the continuing impact of infrastructure long after we've all finished with dealing with it. But part of that is making sure that those skills are there, and a lot of that sort of skill capacity is part of that construction contract. If we could improve on that and have that training for not only for people to participate in the construction aspect, but the maintenance, repair, and ongoing support for that infrastructure moving forward. Again, I'm talking about remote communities where every time the pump breaks, you got to fly somebody in to deal with that. You want to get away from that. You want to create more sustainability, at source.
Okay. Did anyone else want to sort of jump in on the impact piece? Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. My brother's the chair of Sunshine Coast Minor Hockey League, so I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that we're responsible for 7,000 hockey rinks all across Canada. That's central Canada, and big opportunity here for energy retrofits, substantial. So we're looking forward to implementing that. And in fact, tomorrow I think is our first webinar on accessing that community building retrofit fund.
Thank you, Mr. Frizzell. Thank you, Mr. Fillmore. Well done to all of you, to all the questions from the members, great interventions, great questions, and to the witnesses. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of the committee, as well as the government and all of us in the House of Commons to thank you for coming out and giving us your time to pass on your thoughts, your experiences with respect to working with the federal government, in particular as it relates to infrastructure. I have to say, as a former mayor myself for 14 years here in Niagara, it's a blessing that we have such a closer connection between the federal government and our local level municipalities. And I won't even say municipalities. I'll say communities. It's like a house compared to a home, municipality compared to a community. And to all of you, thank you for that and those interventions. As well, I also want to extend my sincere appreciation to a lot of you for mentioning asset management. And of course, from asset management, PSAB, that you all work on. I know it's very difficult to capitalize your assets and, of course, attach an asset management plan to that when it comes to repair, maintenance throughout its life cycle. And then, and obviously, when its life cycle then concludes, trying to replace that facility. I know a lot of you are trying to really top up those reserves to keep up with that maintenance, and then obviously that at the end of the day, that replacement. But you're starting to do it, and hopefully you're doing it with our help. So with that, again, thank you for what you do at the local level. Thank you for working very closely with us, and we look forward to working with you folks well into the future. So you folks have a great evening. And to members, we are now going to adjourn the public portion of this meeting, and we're going to step into an in-camera meeting. So I will give you about 5 minutes to log out and then log back in. Thank you.
Merci encore.